friends, this is Tony Cañas, and today I want to talk to you about the amazing book, Delivering Happiness. First, sadly, I gotta start with a big downer. The reason I finally sat down to make this video, which has been on the to-do list for a long time, is because Tony Hsieh, the founder of Zappos and author of this wonderful book that's been a big part of my career, passed away recently, way too young, consequence of the injuries sustained during a house fire while visiting family in Connecticut. So it is with a heavy heart that I finally get around to make this video. In the book, Tony Hsieh has a section dedicated to his love of Red Bull, which I share. Tony, this Red Bull's for you. The rest of the video will have a much happier tone because this is a very happy book. A book that, like I said, has had a big effect in my career and in insurance nerds and kind of what we preach. So I reread this book, which I had read originally, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. I think I read this book around 2011, and I loved it so much that I handed out free copies of it to many people in the call center at Nationwide. So I reread it specifically for this video after Tony's accident. The most important decision is which table you sit at. He learned this playing poker. The way he talks about it in the book, it applies to the business world. One of the biggest decisions you can make, and I think this applies both to open a company, which is what he was talking about, or to your career. Keeping in mind that you can always choose which table you sit at. You can always choose which business to be in, and you can always change tables. You can always change businesses. You can always change jobs or careers if you realize that you're seated at the wrong table. His first business, Link Exchange, which I remember from when I was a kid building websites in high school, grew very fast in the .com bubble. It got sold to Microsoft, but even before it got sold, it had lost the culture. And that's the one thing about Link Exchange that Tony talks about bringing the most. 6 months before it sold to Microsoft, he no longer liked going to work at Link Exchange because they had grown so fast that the culture had been lost. He made a note to himself to make sure he never lost sight of the value of a tribe where people truly feel connected and care about the well-being of one another. Was huge as he went on to create Zappos. This belief that the culture is the first, second, and last. Shortly after selling Link Exchange to Microsoft, he went to a rave. He fell in love with raves and with the ethos of raves, which was explained to him as PLUR, P-L-U-R. Peace, love, unity, and respect. And he takes this with him as he goes to create his next company, Zappos. It seems that the benefit from getting to know someone on a personal level usually happens 2 to 3 years after you start working on building that relationship. And it's usually something you could have not possibly predicted at the beginning of the relationship. I agree with this 100%. Now that I am like 11 years into my insurance career, I've realized that this is so true. When you meet somebody and you start building that relationship, you have no idea what that relationship is going to grow into. You have no idea who's going to become a client, who's going to become a partner, who's going to hire you someday. So I think this is very important as you network your way and grow your career, is remembering that everybody you meet might become a valuable piece of your network someday, and you have just no idea who or how that'll happen. So treat everybody well, be kind to everybody. Never outsource your core competency. The way that he learned this lesson with Zappos, and I haven't even introduced Zappos, but you might know who they are. Zappos has a stupid business, basically. They sell shoes online. Who on earth would buy shoes online? If you think about it, you have to try them on. Zappos has made it work and has made it work amazingly well. How it works is they have free shipping back and forth, so you can order 50 pair, literally, as many as you want, try them on, choose the ones that you want to keep, and send all the rest back with free shipping both ways. We've actually done this. Renee ordered me like 30 pairs of Zappos shoes, like 30 red pairs of shoes. I wish I had a picture. And I kept 2. So it works. It's definitely much better than going to a shoe store. And they also have fantastic customer service because Zappos realized that for a modern company and a .com company, the very rare times where you get on the phone, customer service is your one chance to touch the client. We'll talk about that. And I think there's a lot of connection between insurance and Zappos on that particular point. But never outsource the core competency of your company. At Zappos, how this happened is as they were growing, they outsourced the fulfillment center. Basically, they were founded in San Francisco and they wanted a fulfillment center very close to, I believe it was Memphis, Tennessee, where the FedEx or the UPS hub is at a very central location. The company offered them the service of, hey, we'll handle your logistics. We're located right, we have a warehouse right by the FedEx or UPS, I can't remember which were the two companies, by their worldwide shipping center. They did that and it almost took the company down. The service was horrible. This company was not ready for the amount of business that Zappos would bring them. Nowadays, they run their own fulfillment center out of that same metro area. So never outsource your core competency. We all knew deep down inside that we would have to give up the dropship business sooner or later if we were serious about building the Zappos brand to be about the best customer service. Basically, at first, the way Zappos worked, they had trouble getting manufacturers to work with them. So what the type of relationships they were able to get were dropshipping relationships, where Zappos was the website where people bought the shoes, but the shoes were shipped from each specific manufacturer. They didn't keep any inventory, and that was good for efficiency's sake. Well, they realized it came a point where the only way to continue growing the company into what they wanted it to be was to give up the dropship part of the business, because they couldn't control the customer service quality, they couldn't control the shipping, they couldn't get perfect measures of inventory. It led to bad customer service to not control your own inventory. So they had to give that up. And I think there's a lot of parallels to that in the insurance industry. Don't outsource the key things that your customers are with you for is really, 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 really good advice, even if it's cheaper. It wasn't the cheapest option for us, but we thought that it would make our existing employees the happiest. They decided to move from San Francisco because of the cost of living or because of other reasons, and they looked at several options, including Memphis, etc. But their employees were from San Francisco, so they ended up choosing to move to Las Vegas, and that had some reasons. Las Vegas is a customer service town, so it was easy to find customer service talent who see it as a career. It was a better fit for their San Francisco existing employees to move to. It would have been a lot harder for their San Francisco employees to move that far away from family, move all the way to the center of the country. Great lesson here. Many times, the cheapest option might be the most efficient, but it might not be the best option for your employees. It makes sense to do whatever the best option is for your employees. Culture is the number one priority, even above customer service. This reminds me of a Richard Branson quote: "How you treat your employees is eventually how your employees treat your customer." I have found this to be 100% true. If you are USAA and you are known for treating your employees well, if you are Amica and you are known for treating your employees well, those employees will treat your customers well, and you'll be known for treating your customers well. If you are other companies that I won't name by name and you mistreat your employees, that's going to be reflected in the customer service that they give to your customers or clients. They started publishing the Zappos Culture Book. The Zappos Culture Book is published every year, and basically every employee that wants to contribute can. They all get asked to contribute a little bit of what Zappos is for them and what how they define the Zappos culture in their own voice. And they publish the good, the bad, and the ugly. They publish the complaints that they get. It is published completely unedited, except for spelling and grammar. It is published completely uncensored. Not only that, it is available not only internally, but it's available to the public. You can get a copy. I mean, you can buy a copy, but you can get a copy of the Zappos Culture Book on any given year. Imagine if your company did that. If your company once a year said, "Hey, everybody, contribute to our culture book. What is the culture here in your own words? Please be honest. We will not censor anybody. We will not punish anybody. It'll get printed that way, and it will give it to customers and to the general public, whoever wants it, and everybody gets a copy." What would they say? If you're not happy about what they would say, then you need to change your culture a little bit. They have a monthly Ask Me Anything newsletter where employees can email in their questions. They prioritize spending in only 3 areas: customer service, culture, and employee training and development. Our philosophy has been to take most of the money we would have spent on paid advertising and invest it in customer service and the customer experience instead, letting our customers do marketing for us through word of mouth. This is very, very important. I think the insurance could learn a lot from this. How many insurance carriers are among the biggest spenders in advertising? And most of that advertising is completely wasted on geckos, Flow. Mayhem's a little better, but in general, like I hate most insurance advertising, honestly. And instead of spending those hundreds of millions of dollars, I think together it's something like $2.5 billion a year that insurance spends advertising if you add it all together. Imagine if those companies spent that money instead on being awesome employers, which many of them are, but being even better on being awesome to their customers instead, and let the customers to the advertising. I think USAA is a great example on this. I've never seen an ad for USAA, but I have had many USAA customers tell me how very, very, very happy they are with USAA. Word of mouth goes a long way. This one's crucial. Your call center is your best branding opportunity. You have the customer's undivided attention for 5 to 10 minutes. If you get the interaction right, what we found is that the customer remembers the experience for a very, very long time and tells his or her friends about it. Too many companies think of their call center as an expense to minimize. We believe that it is a huge untapped opportunity for most companies. If you think about it, most customers never talk to them on the phone. If the customer calls, I believe that he says something like 5% of customers call in any given year. That is very similar to the number of people who have claims in any given year. So I think there's a lot of similarities here with insurance. And if insurance companies learn to think of their call centers and their front-facing agents, whether they're in person or not, whether they're employees or independent contractors or whatever, the people at your company that actually touch the clients, especially the call centers, are your number one branding. Are you treating them right? Are you paying them right? Are you growing them right? Are you helping them fall in love with insurance? Are you helping them understand the insurance right? Based on what I hear from most call center reps that call in to chat with Tony for career advice and they're trying to get out, no, we don't. I think we're losing a lot there. We could learn a ton from Zappos. Lifetime value is a moving target that can increase if we create more and more positive emotional associations with our brand through every interaction that a person has with you. Basically, every time that we actually interact with our customer, if we're adding value to their lives, the lifetime value of that customer for us grows because they'll stay for longer. One of the ways that Zappos does this is by surprise upgrades to overnight shipping, even though they're expensive. They run their warehouse 24/7, even though it's not the most efficient way to run it because it makes the customers happier. They don't measure average handle time or average call time. They don't measure average handle time or average call time in their call centers, because if you measure average call time, that translates into phone reps worrying about how quickly they can get a customer off the phone. And that translates into crappy customer service. And the last thing you want is crappy customer service. Almost any insurance company that I know that has a call center measures on-call time because that is the best practice in the call center management world. It's wrong. It's wrong. If the customer relationship is worth anything, it's just wrong. It's bad for your employees. It's bad for your customer service. It's bad for you long-term. It's bad for your brand long-term. Ultimately, it's just bad. We do it because it's easy, because it's the easiest thing to measure. Scripts and forcing the reps to upsell, again, ends up becoming crappy customer service. How many carriers out there have scripts for their call center reps, or really push them and reward them or punish them if they don't upsell? Probably many in what I've seen. At Zappos, we don't measure call times. Our longest phone call was almost 6 hours long, and we don't upsell. Think about this one. This one's really, really crazy. 6 hours long. 6 hours long. What would you do if one of your call center reps was on the phone for 6 hours in a single call? I venture to say that guy or girl would be fired very quickly thereafter, spending 6 hours on the phone with a single customer. At Zappos, that phone call is lionized. It's an example. It's used in orientation. How much of that phone call was about shoes? Probably not the whole thing. Don't try to maximize each transaction. Instead, focus on building a lifelong relationship with each customer, one phone call at a time. And keep in mind that for Zappos, at the time the book was written, only 5% of their sales happen through the phone. So 95% happen via their website, and yet they still take such extreme care on the phone calls. I think it's very similar to insurance, where 95% of clients don't have a claim in any given year. But when they do call in, we should absolutely make them feel like rock stars, basically. There's a story in the book of somebody getting a dare to call the call center. No, it was somebody else because they would have recognized Tony's voice. He dared somebody to call his call center, the Zappos call center, instead of asking for shoes, asking for pizza. So the person called the Zappos 800 number and said, "Hey, I'm traveling. I'm in Houston or whatever city, and I'm not familiar with the area. I'm looking for pizza." Call center rep, with no notice, with no preparation for this, took a couple minutes to figure out what to do, and came back and said, "Here's a few pizza restaurants near your location. Would you like me to put in an order for you?" How crazy is that the call center person knew that the most important thing was for the client to hang up thinking, "Oh my God, Zappos is awesome." Period. That's all that mattered. That's all that matters whenever the phone rings at Zappos. What would happen if somebody called your call center and said that. Many insurance call centers that measure time on call, they probably get hung up on, my best guess. I think that we should run our call centers this same way. It should be no time on call measure. Basically, I care about at Zappos, they care about one thing, that you hang up happy. At an insurance call center, I would care about two things: that you hang up happy, and number two, that we give you the right information compliance-wise, right? That we stay legal. That's crucial in our business. Again, our customer service could be a lot better at most insurance call centers. Customer service should be a priority for the whole company, not just for a department. And Zappos takes this super seriously, to the point that every new hire, they try to hire mostly entry level. But if you do get hired for a higher level role, even VP of finance or anything like that, you get to go through training, through 4 weeks of training with the other call center reps, with all the customer service call center reps, and you get to answer the phones for 2 weeks before going and doing your job. Everybody in the company has gone through it, and I think that is crucial. What would your call center look like if the VPs in underwriting and the VPs in claims and the VPs in the actuarial space and everywhere else in the management of the company had gone through the call center for a couple of weeks? I would dare say that it would be radically different. At all times, what they recommend is wow your customers. Don't just make things right. The way you do this is you empower and trust your customer service reps, and you trust that they want to provide great service. Escalation to a supervisor should be exceedingly rare. In our industry, escalation to a supervisor should basically only happen when it is a compliance issue, not for a service issue. Service issues, the customer service rep should be empowered to just do it without having to go to a supervisor and delaying the process. Now, if it's a compliance issue, yeah, get the supervisor involved. That's absolutely fine. Again, don't measure call times, don't force employees to upsell, don't use scripts. They view each call as an investment in the customer's lifetime relationship and lifetime value. And this is a really important concept. The brand is ultimately a lagging indicator of the company culture, of the employee culture. And ultimately the culture is the brand. And building a brand today, the way they view it, is very different from 50 years ago. 50 years ago, you got a bunch of smart people in one room and you gave them a significant budget and they bought advertising and they built a brand, and that was the brand. Today, I had a video recently on this. You don't know, you own the legal brand, you don't own the message. So ultimately, company culture and company brand are just two sides of the same coin. That's why company culture is so radically important. And culture starts with the hiring process. Essentially, Zappos is perfectly happy to say no to talented people who don't fit into the culture long term. It's not even a question. They don't hire toxic people that are going to be toxic to the company culture, regardless of how unique the skill set, regardless of how good they are. Also, after hiring, that the first step is culture training. Every employee goes through the 4 weeks training, including the 2 weeks taking phone calls. We talked about that. At the end of the first week of training, they offer the class $2,000 to quit. That number is probably higher today because this book is probably 8 to 10 years old. The reason for offering you money to quit is absolutely fantastic. Number one, you've had the chance to see what the company is like. You've had the chance to kind of figure out whether you fit in, and if you don't fit, maybe you're better off taking the 2,000. The company is definitely better off letting you take the 2,000 than having you stay if you're not the right fit for them long term. The amazing thing is they do such a good job hiring that less than 1% of employees take the offer. Also, another really interesting thing, those employees are going to have a hard day at some point. And when they have a hard day, they're going to come home and they're going to think subconsciously of the $2,000, and they're going to be like, I love my job. So if I didn't love my job, I would have taken the $2,000. Cognitive dissonance move that works really well there. They also believe that companies should be driven from the bottom up. Frontline people know the customer best. They see changes coming. You need to empower your frontline to drive changes, especially changes that affect the customer. I can't think of a single insurance company that does that, where changes happen because the front of the house rang the bell. The best leaders are servant leaders, and that goes all the way to frontline managers. The role of a manager is to remove obstacles and to enable his directs to succeed and grow. That is big. What I've seen a lot in insurance, especially in insurance call centers, is the frontline managers grew from the call center, and all they know is the call center. They don't know the rest of insurance, so they can't help their people grow to the rest of insurance. And they see their job as maximizing the numbers, at minimizing time on call, basically, at minimizing the time that their employees spend away from the desk. They have very few resources and very little training to help their employees actually grow. I think that is awful. I think that managers should be measured on how many of their employees grew within the company, not just the call center numbers. Good companies know that employees are the greatest assets, and every company talks about employees being their greatest asset. But Zappos takes it to another level. They focus on building their people not individually, but they see it as a pipeline. Rather than focusing on individuals as our asset, a pipeline of people in every single department with varying levels of skill and experience, ranging from entry level all the way up through senior management and leadership positions. Our vision is for almost all of our hires to be entry level, but for the company to provide all the training and mentorship necessary so that every employee has the opportunity to become a senior leader within the company within 5 to 7 years. There's a lot there to unpack, but every department has a pipeline from the bottom to the top, and not only that, they want to hire mostly entry level, and they want to provide all the training and mentorship necessary so that any employee has the opportunity to become a senior leader within the company within 5 to 7 years. If any insurance company could replicate this in any way, an insurance company that shows me a pathway from the call center to a VP level role, and maybe 5 to 7 years is not possible, but call it in 10 years, there are scheduled moves. I just need to hit certain objective measures, and they're gonna give me all the training to do it. I just need to put in the work. Oh my God, that would be amazing. Absolutely amazing. Our goal at Zappos is for our employees to think of their work not as a job or a career, but as a calling. This is awesome. I talk a lot about how we need to help our employees get to the point when we hire them, especially entry level, they see insurance as a job. We need to get them to the point where they see it as a career. So Zappos takes it a step further than that, getting the employees to the point where they see it not as a career, but as a calling. That is really amazing. And we could absolutely do something like that. I bet you that at USAA, there are a significant number of people who see their job at USAA as a calling, because they're very good at helping their employees understand where USAA fits in the ecosystem, where it fits in the world, where it fits in the world of military families. So it is doable to get to the point where you see it as a calling. At the entry level, all we care about is that they are passionate about the category of product their team is responsible for. Okay, so at the entry level, they're not hiring for a specific skill set, they're hiring for passion. And given, you probably won't find people who are passionate about insurance, but I see too many insurance companies hiring for experience, even at the entry level. Look at the job openings for an entry-level underwriter. Almost all of them say require 2 years of underwriting experience. Explicit growth paths with timelines, basically. And I've only seen this at one insurance company where almost every employee knows when their next promotion is coming as long as they hit certain guidelines. And it's not just in the call center. That kind of certainty, that kind of visible growth path. And it's funny because that particular carrier is a very conservative carrier, but they just happen to do that very well. That is a huge retention tool. The pipeline team offers courses for all departments. Many of the courses are required to be promoted to certain levels, regardless of which department. To get promoted, regardless of which department you come from, you have to understand the basics of what the business does and the culture, ultimately. How awesome would that be if to get promoted in underwriting, you had to understand the basics of claims, and the other way around, and of customer service. Because of the pipeline in any given department, when an employee leaves, there's always somebody right in front of him and someone right behind, ready to take those responsibilities. So you're never scrambling. How awesome would that be? It'd be less business for me at Jacobson. That's not good, but you're never scrambling. Over time, the goal is to extend the pipeline into 4 years before entry level and build relationships with college students and offer them summer internships every summer. By the end of their college career, you know if they're a perfect fit for your company, and they know if they are a perfect fit for your company. Ultimately, everything at Zappos is done taking into account a happiness framework, which they believe includes perceived control, perceived progress, connectedness, and meaning. And a couple of ways that this is implemented throughout the company. Perceived control is implemented by having a skill set system of races. Basically, in the call center, it's like the Boy Scouts. There's a bunch of badges you can earn. Think of them like Boy Scout badges. And as you earn each of those skills, there's 20 of them in total. You certify it by taking a test, and that results in a predictable raise. So basically, if you want to earn more, if you want to grow quickly, take more of, certify more of the skills. If you're very happy where you're at, you're doing this just for the benefits, and you're not interested in career growth this year, you can sit around and just do your job and do it well enough, and you'll be there forever. That is amazing. I've seen so many insurance entry-level roles where everybody gets treated the same. What I mean by that is young, high potential, hungry people who want to grow get treated the same as people who are doing this for the benefits, and it annoys both. It is bad for both sides. The people who are working here just for the benefits and who are not looking for career growth are annoyed by getting forced to participate in programs and take classes that they're not interested in, while young hungry people are annoyed by lack of opportunity to grow and lack of a pathway to grow. So basically in their call center, the timing is completely in your control. The very specific things, if you do them, you grow, and you control the timing. Perceived progress, how do they do that? They do that by cutting promotions into smaller, quicker promotions that are more predictable. And then the connectedness and the meaning piece come from the overall company culture. I don't think he had an example specifically in the book about that. There's a lot more in the book. Highly recommend you read it. Sorry that I couldn't keep this one down to just 10 minutes. Highly recommended book. Thank you for watching.